Hello and welcome to Faulty Family Films, where the line, "it's okay for kids," is considered an insult. Now, over the last decade or so, a lot of films have developed a strange condition known as sequelitis. A condition that affects one-off films that are perfectly fine on their own by creating sequel after sequel until the public grows tired of both the original and those trying to cash in. It also has to be carefully monitored to prevent the hazardous side effects that come with it, such as contradictory plots and character motivations, weak storytelling, and bringing in famous faces to try and seem relevant. Though of course some films just end up doing it straight away before a sequel's even announced. That's right, I'm talking to you both, Rio and the Smurfs. All the worst side effect of all, complete and utter disassociation from the original movie, like the Brave Little Toaster to the Rescue, and Goes to Mars. Now I'm talking about both movies today because, well, they're actually just that dull and unoriginal that they might as well be exactly the same movie. Which isn't too surprising given the fact that the writer wrote these films probably about the same time, the production for both movies was about the same time, which leads to the grandest idiocy of them all about these two movies. That The Brave Little Toaster Goes to Mars, the third film in this so-called trilogy, was released before the second film in the so-called trilogy. Which might lead people to certain conclusions, shall we say, that maybe the rights to those movies were about to run out, so Disney crapped out two films before that could happen. Because, where's that move ever gone wrong? But let's find out if it was worth it as we look at The Brave Little Toaster to the Rescue and Goes to Mars. We open both movies on the exact same shot, Chris and Rob driving around. Though, at least To the Rescue has the good thought to have an entertaining song for its opening instead of just this. Though, at the same time, I can't help but think that the music in To the Rescue is lying to me. However, it's not quite as bad as in Goes to Mars, where the music literally doesn't want to be there.
Hit it, radio.
In Goes to Mars, we're introduced to Hearing Aid, the only new character in that movie with an actual purpose, despite also introducing a fan, a faucet, and her spray nozzle son, a calculator, and a microwave voiced by Wayne Knight.
They're just humans. No circuits to speak of. They'll come and they'll go, but I'll still be here. I'm the future.
Who, as always, is playing an asshole. While across into the Rescue, Chris doesn't pay attention to the road.
Just think, our graduation falling on the same day as our anniversary.
Right. It makes it all the more special, doesn't it?
What does?
You know.
Both movies have the appliances fear they've been forgotten moments, because the first movie did it, so why not just repeat it? Even though it doesn't actually have anything to do with the rest of the movie, so when Wayne Knight goes on this little tangent...
Some old windbag? A dim bulb by which to read Dr. Spock? A piece of singed white bread? Please.
Is it ever going to pop up again?
No.
Goes to Mars continues with the world's biggest newborn baby being introduced.
Why is his head so big? Why is his head so big?
While into the Rescue, we have the least authentic Mexican accent on film.
That is quite enough, Ratso. You are not, as they say, very respectful.
But it is good to know that this dog would go on to be Tito in Oliver and Company. And now we move on to the first song of both films, where let me check my notes. I apparently wrote, "It's such a poor attempt at an emotional connection between characters and the audience that I literally felt closer with my last bowel movement than I did any character in the film." And for the other one, I wrote "see previous." The problem for both songs is they have no depth. The one the animals sing is repetitive wordplay about how we'll never forget to remember that day, which would be all well and good if it had anything to do with the movie, whilst the other is so vague and false, I'm pretty sure the writer of it went on to do songs for One Direction. In fact, listen to some of the lines.
Baby, how the hours fly. Though I loved you from day one, no, I loved you even before. Since then, everything you've done has made me love you even more. I see a new you, baby.
Seriously, speed it up, you've got their next hit single. Also, the montage for the baby song is really weird in context. says this is a newborn baby, but they leave him alone in the house and the bathtub unsupervised, and somehow he lives through it all without a scratch. Which means there can only be 3 possible explanations for what's going on here. Either that baby is Kal-El, son of Jor-El, he's the baby from Baby's Big Day Out, or third, and most likely, the writers and animators didn't have a fucking clue as to what they were doing. Back into the rescue, Ratso, one of the few animal characters who actually does something, shows us what the face of denial looks like.
If he misses you so much, why did he dump you here instead of keeping you with him in his dorm room?
He had his reasons.
While into Mars, we actually have a plot point with hearing aid.
Yes. Yes. Tomorrow night, I'll be ready.
I'm pretty sure in the real world that's the equivalent of sending someone a text message to see if they got your email. Also in a script, I would call it blatant padding. Also, the whole transmitting signal and being to pick him up later, never mentioned again for the rest of the film, despite being obvious plot points that could have been developed. Into the rescue, we're introduced to our quote-unquote villain.
Graduating a year early. Must be nice. What's she doing with him?
Which shows us what comic book guy did before moving to Springfield. While in Mars, Toast tells everyone what hearing aid was up to, which causes them to stay awake all day despite this line.
Well, let's keep an eye on the hearing aid. He said something was gonna happen tonight.
Meaning, of course, they all fall asleep. Also, let's not question how they can be tired, as later they bring up the fact they don't need to breathe. It's just a plot-convenient rabbit hole that we do not need to go down. Into the rescue, we have the B-plot of the movie show up, which is of little consequence.
Rob, your computer!
Oh no! What do you mean my file doesn't exist? You can't do this to me! I was on the last page of my thesis!
I've seen plays that were more exciting than this. Honest to God, plays!
While similarly, the A-plot of Mars is going on with little consequence. Oh, well, I guess except for that. Which should probably mean that that baby is all kinds of dead right now, given that they were expecting an appliance who wouldn't need to breathe. And look, there's that rabbit plot hole all over again. Not gonna go down it though. Meanwhile, into the rescue, we learn that your computer is kind of an asshole.
My cord is not frayed. I don't know how you guys can live with yourselves.
Easy.
We aren't programmed for guilt.
And someone thought that line was so funny, there's a pause for laughter.
It's not funny. There's nothing funny about that.
Also, this character is introduced, only for him to be never seen again. Thanks, movie. Continuing on with To the Rescue's version of the appliances, the vacuum is apparently being all bitchy to the chimp. Not a sentence I ever thought I'd say.
Are you sure you're not exaggerating?
You don't know the half of it.
I just can't believe any person could ever be so cruel. You had a roof over your head, didn't you?
In the first movie, you guys saw cars being crushed and you were almost stripped for parts. You have literally seen what hell looks like for your kind, and yet this you tell him to shut up? Fuck you!
Well, here's your proof.
Whoa, movie, slow down. Any more gruesome scenes like that and this movie won't even be fit to show toddlers. Back in Mars, a spaceship is built out of a ceiling fan, a microwave, some popcorn, and a basket that must have been borrowed from the Doctor because it manages to magically shift sizes between scenes. Though honestly, I don't know why all these other characters end up coming along. Toaster is the only one who actually does anything. Everyone else just scrabbles around to find lines. Skipping a chunk of To the Rescue, where very little happens, which I'll admit could describe the whole movie, the villain finally does something.
The money's as good as in your hand, Slap. So, how are the wife and... So long, animals.
But it won't actually take effect until 20 minutes until the end of the movie. It's like both these films need some plot Viagra or something, because right now, it's seeming a little limp. We get to song number 2 of both films, or as I like to call it, the complete mindfuck. Because which nightmare fuel would you like to experience? The one where the creepy sentient balloons talk to you, or the ones where your computers break in and have breasts? Either way, you're not sleeping tonight. And it's not like this has anything to do with the plot. The balloon one has quite literally nothing to do with what the characters are doing, and it makes me wonder if it was only added in because otherwise it is a very dull trip to Mars. Although it does have this line.
Heard they tried again, but me and my strain feel you can't relive a one-time thing.
Perhaps practice what you preach, Disney. I've seen the sequels to your movies. They're not much better. While the other one is an attempt to teach kids about the internet, which would be good if they were able to hear anything over their own deafening screams of seeing computers with breasts. And it does make me wonder, and I'll use Goes to Mars as an example, did they just spin a roulette wheel to come up with these plot points? So our heroes need to go to Mars to rescue the new baby. And on the way there they meet balloons, making this movie completely stupid! So where do we go next? Introducing more pointless characters or talking about evil electricity? Arriving on Mars, the appliances discover a bunch of probes, including the first ever probe, Viking 1, and a Christmas ornament named Tinselina, which I guess joins Erotica in the poorly chosen themed name category. Also, no Martian City or Abraham Lincoln. Worst animated trip to Mars ever. While back in Rescue, we see some evil electricity and learn, eventually, where it comes from, a supercomputer called Wittgenstein. Though this is of course after a solid 15 minutes of absolutely nothing. So if the writer suddenly had a heart attack. But unfortunately for us, if that had actually happened, the movie would be at an end, instead of still half an hour left to go. Showing once again how much these movies are similar, we get more made-up reality.
And when I get a virus, it spreads everywhere.
Run for the hills!
Well, not to you. It only happens if you're online.
You know, except for three obvious little things. One, that's a power cable. Two, you yourself are not internet capable. And three, that's not how viruses work. Honestly, I'm not sure what's more baffling. That they just left a supercomputer plugged in for no reason, or that by his claim, he's only been there an hour.
How long have you been down here?
4,999,450,852,312 nanoseconds.
Both movies show off the next song after the introduction of new characters, with Mars introducing the Supreme Commander, who I guess you could call the antagonist, if in this case antagonist means character who appears 20 minutes before the end and is instantly defeated, while in To the Rescue,
I glistened and gleamed for a while back, then it seemed I would go on forever in my prime.
Silence! Your voice is grating on my ear nubs.
And really, I'm not sure which of these is worse. The Mars one has a message that it's weakly trying to connect to the overall idea of the film, the duality of man in regards to their appliances, which is probably the smartest description anyone could give about that song. While in Rescue, it's a character who I don't really care about. If I had to pick which is worse, it'd be the Mars one though. Since To the Rescue's song actually has a chorus that for once doesn't make me want to jam a fork into my eardrums.
Jump and munch, chew and burn. There's a lot here to destroy. Inch by inch, it's a cinch, bringing down this big old boy.
This doesn't make any sense whatsoever, given the virus has never seemed to be sentient in any other way, but it is probably the catchiest part of any song in both of these movies. Toaster ends up becoming the Supreme Commander for the appliances of Mars, and yes, I did just say that. While in Rescue, the computer needs a tube to work correctly, which takes them all of 5 minutes to get before accidentally breaking it, making those 5 minutes completely pointless. Now we get a shared moment in both films once again, where a character heroically sacrifices themselves for the good of everyone else. So in To the Rescue, it's Radio sacrificing the tube from him to give to Wittgenstein so he can help. While in To Mars, Tinselina will be the person giving the heroic sacrifice. Of course, that one will be extraordinarily stupid, but let's continue. The problem with both is that for Tinselina, it's a weak attempt at emotional manipulation of the audience, and with Radio, it's fixed by the end of the movie. As is Tinselina's. A heroic sacrifice doesn't work if at the end it's reversed. It'd be like Aquaman cutting off his own arm, but at the end of the episode he just says, "Oh, this? I'll be back in 2 hours, no biggie." But given the fact that in the first film it was established that the tubes in the back of Radio were quite important and rare, it does make me realise that the writer must have seen the original movie. So, obvious question, explain these. On Mars, the appliances are welcomed inside the Supreme Commander's fridge body, only to find another fridge, which contains Hearing Aid's brother. Yeah, pretty sure this is an alternate ending to Silent Hill. While into the rescue. Oh my god, the actual title of the movie is working its way into the plot. And with only 20 minutes left to go. Well done, movie. Now let's see how your sister film disappoints us.
The missile. I forgot to deactivate it. I'm the only one who knows the abort code.
Oh, yeah. Did I not mention the whole missile that's been built to destroy Earth plotline? No? Maybe that's because in the film it's treated like it's a fucking footnote. It gets brought up soon after the appliances arrive on Mars, but it's not mentioned again until this very moment. Despite the fact that both the missile and saving Robbie were the reasons Toaster opposed the Supreme Commander. So it's no wonder that the main characters don't really seem to do anything in either movie when the reaction to an Earth-destroying missile is... Total surprise!
So you're wrong, Mr. Nelson!
But my god, let's just start wrapping this whole thing up, shall we? Into the rescue, the appliances do absolutely nothing, because during the chase scene it's a combination of Wittgenstein, the snake, and a couple of police officers that put an end to things. While on Mars, Toaster helps Hearing Aid's brother reach the missile controls, which for some reason have been built to human size and not their own. Which means that at the end of both movies, none of our main characters have done anything to stop the main plot points of their own films. Good God, do these movies suck. The final part of To the Rescue has all the animals now in good homes. Apparently that was a plot point. While Mars decides to have one more stab at a musical number.
Home again, safe and content. Glad to be home again, still glad we went.
Which might have been good had this movie been one long trip with them trying to flee from Mars after being taken there for some time. But here's the problem. They were gone for all of 6 or 7 hours. Maybe even less. And most of that was sat travelling in a basket. Seriously, movie, you're the brave little toaster goes to Mars. You are not homeward bound. The sooner you accept that fact, the better. Back at home, Tinselina tries to commit suicide by garbage can.
Boy, that escalated quickly.
Which is due to things that make no sense because the writer doesn't understand how a microwave works. So we can add that to our growing misunderstanding of technology list in both films. But she's brought inside by Rob and Chris and placed finally on a Christmas tree. Because that, my friends, is the true meaning of Christmas. Yeah, both of these movies are just terrible. While a great deal of acting in both movies is as good as you might expect from a Disney production, and I enjoy Kath Soucie as Tinselina and Brian Dylan Murray as Wittgenstein, because they're just spot on. The problem is that every other thing in this movie is a disaster. No character is developed without either a heavy amount of exposition or dialogue, in the case of both Sebastian the Chimp and Tinselina, or a song that's just so shallow and dull that you forget about it instantly. Both plots meander about with the characters standing around for no reason and scenes that go nowhere, whilst possible plotlines that could have made for an interesting movie are just left to rot. Take To the Rescue, for example. They make this whole deal about how terrible Tartarus Labs is and that no animals should be ever sent there, but do we ever see it? No. Is it ever really mentioned outside the other two brief times in the movie? Also no. You'd think being called To the Rescue, the appliances would have to go to this supposedly evil place and be heroes, not save an ill supercomputer and then do nothing. And similarly, Goes to Mars should have been set on Mars for way longer than halfway through the movie. They could have been taken to Mars with baby Robbie and then actually have things happen with them escaping back to Earth. The musical numbers are just nowhere near as memorable or emotional as the originals were, with some songs being better off cut than left in due to them having no point. Or others that just seem like they were written with no real effort to either try and be catchy or entertaining. Given the legacy and nostalgia of the Brave Little Toaster movie, it's a sad sight to see two sequels come out that just destroy it from the inside out. And really, when you've got movies like this, there's only one solution. Now next time on the show, it'll be Halloween, and I imagine, knowing my luck, that something terrible is waiting just around the corner. But for now, I've been Tyas, this has been Faulty Family Films, and remember, if we wouldn't accept it in our movies, kids shouldn't have to accept it in theirs.
We're floating, west and east we go floating, free and released from the hands that gave us flight. Hands too little to hold on tight, now we float forever, in and out.
Hey everyone, do you hate terrible family films as much as I do? You know, so much so that I modified a Nerf gun to be able to destroy movies and take them out of reality somehow? It's not a question that. Then why not support our show on Patreon, where you'll be able to gain access to videos earlier than anybody else. You'll be able to suggest videos for me to review, and there's a lot of them. And just for any other sort of purposes, whether it's behind the scenes stuff or just because you like the show. But for now, I'll see you next time.